Trade rumors concerning the New York Islanders. Plus, is Zach Parise finally breaking out of his early season slump? We've also got a complete preview of tonight's game at home against the LA Kings. And we go back to the Islanders' first season for our Islanders' birthday of the day. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. So glad you could join us today, and thank you for being part of the Locked On Islanders family. We are grateful to you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Lots to talk about on today's show. Some trade rumors out there, courtesy of Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet. We'll talk about those as and how they concern the New York Islanders. Plus, Zach Parise, off to a slow start this season statistically, finally seems to be finding his game. We'll break that down for you and explain how that benefits the Islanders. And it's not just because they're getting a third line forward who can contribute a little bit more offensively. We'll preview tonight's game against the LA Kings, and we have our Islanders' birthday of the day going all the way back to the first season of the team's existence for that. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, a topic you'd like us to talk about on the show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're always happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever question or comment you have. Also, you could follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYR_VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So I'll provide some instant insight and analysis. And it's always great to interact with fans and hear what's on their minds as we talk about New York Islanders hockey. So let's start out with the trade rumors. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet up in Canada basically saying that the Edmonton Oilers had asked about the availability of Semyon Varlamov, the Islanders goaltender. Now, again, what does this mean? Let's sort of break it down. The Islanders, that all that means is that someone in the Edmonton Oilers front office called up Lou Lamoriello and basically said, hey, what would it take to get Semyon Varlamov in a trade? We're just, feeling this out kind of a thing. And look, right now, does Edmonton need some goaltending reinforcements? Absolutely. Would Semyon Varlamov be the type of player who could probably help them solidify a playoff spot this year and maybe even go on a playoff run? Yeah, he could be. But the third question, well, there's two more questions. Third, what price would the Oilers be willing to pay for Semyon Varlamov? And then the fourth question, is that going to be enough for Lou Lamoriello to pull the trigger on the deal? Part of the problem for the New York Islanders is they really don't have a quality backup in the organization who is ready to step in. Corey Schneider has really not played in the NHL extensively in a couple of years now. He's certainly valuable to the organization as one of the two goalies at Bridgeport, but he's not even tearing up the league in Bridgeport. Could he come in for a game in an emergency situation, a game or two? Yes. But if you're trying to make a playoff run, you weaken your team substantially if you go from having Ilya Sorokin and Semyon Varlamov as your goalies to Ilya Sorokin and Corey Schneider, or at this stage in his career at least, Jakub Skarek. So neither one of those guys are really ready for NHL duty at this point over the long haul. And what the Islanders would be doing if they pulled the trigger on a deal for Varlamov now is essentially saying that Ilya Sorokin is going to play 70, maybe 80%, 75, 80%, maybe more of the team's remaining games, at least as long as they're in the hunt for the playoffs. So unless the Oilers send a goalie back as part of the trade. Now, trading Varley would certainly clear up some cap space. He's earning $5 million a year in the cap hit for Semyon Varlamov. And maybe that allows you to bring in that sniper or that other offensive defenseman that you want, or maybe you get a player from Edmonton that fits either of those descriptions. But at this point, I think the Oilers are just kicking the tires on this thing. It's very early in the decision-making process. And, Lou Lamoriello is in no hurry to pull the trigger on this or any other deal at this point. If the Islanders fall out of playoff contention entirely, when we're getting closer to the trade deadline, maybe a deal like this is a little bit more viable. But right now, unless Edmonton bowls the Islanders over with an offer, and I don't think they're going to, then we're not going to see anything imminent. So, look, wanted to at least let everybody know that this rumor is out there, that the Oilers at least mentioned, we're looking at Semyon Varlamov as a possible option in a trade, but I don't think anything is going to happen in the immediate future. Now, getting to Zach Parise. Parise, a goal and an assist against Philadelphia on Tuesday, had a goal Saturday, the only goal for the Islanders against Toronto. And over the last, let's say, 10 days or so, last 4 or 5 games, Zach Parise has found his game even more. And look, he was playing better recently, even before he started producing more points. I think Anders Lee said it best, and here's what Lee had to say on the topic. We always knew that his game was going to come around. Not that it even needed to. He just needed to get a couple of bounces. We've all been in that situation. When you're playing as hard as you can, as tough as you can, you feel like you're getting shots and chances and it's not going in. It can wear on you. For him to stick with it, have the right mentality and a great attitude and work his way through this is what everybody should be doing. And Matt Barzal adds, Parise is playing his best hockey of the year and is getting rewarded for it. Zach Parise, I take a lot of pride in playing hard every night. Sometimes it goes in, sometimes it's a little harder. Hopefully I'll be heating up here in the near future. So what does this mean? The better play of Zach Parise. Well, here's what it means. First of all, he has 8 points in his last 13 games, only has 12 points for the whole year. But what it means is that if you put together a third line of J.G. Pageau, Zach Parise, and Oliver Wahlstrom, and Parise is on his game and getting more production, you are opening up that third line to potentially be Wahlstrom, who has the ability to score 20 goals, Parise, who let's say can get up to 15, and Pageau, who can get to 20. For a third line, that gives you good depth. And Parise also plays on the second power play unit. He has a lot of experience on the power play over the course of his career. And we know the Islanders need production from their power play. It's been better as of late, but still inconsistent. And right now, the Islanders need Parise to heat up, and hopefully that is something he'll be able to do. It really gives the Islanders more versatility, more depth, more flexibility if they can get that third line going, and having Parise pick up more points is certainly a way to do it. And we've already heard Anders Lee talk about the leadership by example that Zach Parise provides the New York Islanders with. And look, leadership is more effective when you're playing well. If you're a black ace, there's only so much leadership you can give. Black ace being a player who's a healthy scratch on most nights. But if you're in the lineup, game in and game out, and you're producing, that's when you can be more and more of a leader, and your teammates seriously take what you're doing and look up to you and emulate it. So all around, very positive that Zach Parise is getting into the groove, and hopefully that'll pay dividends for the Islanders down the road. When we come back, we will have our full preview of an unfamiliar opponent, the LA Kings, a team the Islanders haven't seen in a couple of years because of COVID. So we'll look at that game and a full preview of it, plus our Islanders' birthday of the day when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year, and they've got a new updated desktop and mobile website, so sign up today, and you can receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. That's locked on, one word. And yes, betonline.ag will give you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit because you listen to the Locked On Islanders podcast. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, so head over to BetOnline where the game starts. So 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight, it's the Islanders and the LA Kings at the UB things in the Pacific. In third place, a record of 20-16-6, 1 point behind Anaheim for second place with a game in hand. And they are 5 points behind Vegas, even up in games in the standings. Now, the Kings shootout to the New York Rangers a couple of nights ago. That was back on January 24th. Beat the Devils before that 3-2, and then had 3 losses in the game before that. But here's the thing about the Kings. First of all, Jonathan Quick, as a goaltender, really almost seems like he has stepped back in time. He is so much more effective this year than he was in the last 3 or 4 seasons. Cal Peterson giving them decent backup work, but Quick, 11, 10, and 5, but a 9.14 goals against average and a 2.53 goals against average, a 9.14 save percentage. He has cooled off a little as of late after a very, very solid start to the season. The leading goal scorer right now, Adrian Kempe, has 17 and 25 points. So the 17 goals, 8 assists sets him up for a Cy Young Award. Familiar names like Anze Kopitar and Drew Doughty still on this team, but Kopitar leading them in points, 13 goals, 37 points for Kopitar. And out of his 37 points, 13 of them have come on the power play. He is big with the extra attacker where he's got a little bit more room to maneuver. Alex Iafallo, 13 goals, 27 points. Victor Arvidsson with 25 points, 10 goals. And Philip Deneau has 10 goals and 22 points. Again, a nice mixture here on the LA Kings of youth and experience, and again, just like everybody else dealing with COVID, dealing with. So among the players not in the lineup right now, Sean Walker on IR, Alexander Edler on IR, Andreas Athanasio on IR, and then Christian Wallinen and Martin Ferk on the COVID reserve list. Check to see if they have the ability to come back time for tonight's game. And if we hear something, we will tweet it out. Goals for the LA Kings right in the middle, 16th in the league. Goals against, they are 11th. Special teams have not been kind to the Kings. 26th in the league on the power play with a 16.7% conversion rate. Penalty kill, 30th out of 32 teams, only killing off 73.1% of their penalty kills. So the other thing to know about the Kings, they do take a good amount of shots, but they are 30th in the league in shooting percentage at 7.8%. So not always efficient with their scoring chances, let's put it that way. Now, just as a comparison, the New York Islanders, they're not that much better. 27th in the league in shooting percentage, 8.3% of the Islanders' shots go into the goal. Here's the lineup that the Kings had in their last game against the Rangers, and what they call it here, but Tom Kopitar is the center with Iafallo and Kempe on either side of him. Philip Deneau, the second line center, Trevor Moore and Victor Arvidsson are his wingers. From left to right on the third line, Carl Grundstrom, Quentin Byfield, and Dustin Brown, the veteran. And then on the fourth line, the center is Blake Zotti, Brendan Lemieux, Arthur Kaliev. His bench, Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty are the top. Aliata and Matt Roy, second pairing, and Tobias and Sean Dursey are the third pairing. The two goalies, again, right now, Jonathan Quick and Cal Peterson. The Islanders are sort of catching the Kings at a better time. LA was playing a lot better a couple of weeks ago. They are struggling more now. And it is not easy for West Coast teams to pull east and sort of play a game that's going to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, according to their body clocks. Again, this is something where the Islanders sort of need to take advantage of the opportunity when they're going up against this team. And you look at the standings right now, and the New York Islanders, they can really continue to move up in sixth place in 6 points, ahead of New Jersey, ahead of Philadelphia, 1 point behind the Blue Jackets, but the Islanders have 4 games in hand. So the Islanders hoping to pass Columbus standings, and or at least keep pace with them, depending on what Columbus does, and continue that momentum. I mean, no team in the Metropolitan Division has less than 39 games played, and that's Carolina. The Islanders have 35. Carolina and Columbus have 39. Every other team in the division has played at least 41 games. So for the New York Islanders, an opportunity to really get going and continue to move up in the standings, and that's what they are looking to do. Still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast, our Islanders birthday of the day and some parting thoughts about tonight's game. All that still to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. We go back every year of the Islanders' existence, and unfortunately, we can't wish this player a happy birthday. He has passed away, but Friday would have been the birthday of Arnie Brown, Islanders defenseman, and Brown passed in 2019 at the age of 77, so he would be 80 years old on Friday if he was still with us. Made his HL debut for the Toronto Maple Leafs back in the days of the original six in 1961-62 after playing Mikes and Marlboros in his junior career, then for the Rochester Americans. But most of his career, 1964-65 to 1970-71 with the New York Rangers, and he had 15 goals for the Rangers in 1969-70. Traded to Detroit late in the 70-71 season, and then the Islanders grab him in the expansion draft. He played 48 games for the Islanders that first year, 4 goals, 12 points, 27 penalty minutes, and was a minus 48 plus minus in those games. Now, late in the season, the Islanders traded him to the Atlanta Flames. He played for the Flames for another full season, then went on to finish his career in 1974 with the Vancouver Blazers and then the Michigan Stags Baltimore Blades franchise in the World Hockey Association. In his NHL career, Arnie Brown, 681 games, 44 goals, 185 points, add 22 playoff games, 6 assists, and 23 penalty minutes in those games. Those were all with the New York Rangers, except for the last 4, which were with the Atlanta Flames. We're going to look at one of Brown's better games with the Islanders. December 21st, 1972, at the New York Ducks, visiting Dunk Wilson, the goalie for the Canadiens, Desjardins, in between the pipes for the New York Islanders. And it was Vancouver on the board first, the late Bobby Schmatz, his 16th from John Wright and Dale Talon at 6:58. That made it 1-0 in favor of Vancouver. But the Islanders get a power play late in the period. John Wright off for hooking at 15:26, and Brian Lavender, his 4th from the captain, Ed Westfall, and Craig Cameron at 17:17. It's all even at 1. And then with just 27 seconds left in the first period, Ed Westfall, his 9th from Lorne Henning, and our Islanders' birthday of the day, Arnie Brown. That made it 2-1 Islanders after the first period. Isles extend their lead in the second. Barry Wilkins of Vancouver off for hooking Tom Miller, a power play goal for the Isles, his 6th from Billy Harris, and our Islanders' birthday of the day, Arnie Brown, who got his 2nd assist. But Vancouver answers. Jerry Hart in the box for the Islanders for holding. Jocelyn Gavermont, his 9th from Rich Lemieux and Dale Talon. And suddenly it's a 3-2 game. And then Andre Boudrias, his 9th from Don Lever and Rich Lemieux at 19:29, ties it at 3-3 after 2 periods. In the third, Schmatz gets his 2nd of the game, 17th of the year, unassisted at 7:34. And the Islanders are trailing 4-3. But midway through the period, Brian Spinner Spencer, one of the most popular Islanders of that original season, he gets his 4th goal from Tom Miller and Ed Westfall at 10:39. This game, and they did have this back in the early days of the Islanders, ended in a 4-4 tie. Desjardins, 27 saves. Islanders outshot in this game, 31-29. It was a pretty easy, but for Arnie Brown, our Islanders' birthday of the day, 2 assists and 3 shots on goal for Brown. So again, on what would have been his 80th birthday, we wish Arnie Brown all the best in memory of Arnie Brown, one of the original New York Islanders, and he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Big chance tonight for the Islanders. Got to get these 2 points and continue to build momentum. And one of my concerns is that the Islanders really haven't beaten a lot of good teams this year. You know, they have been playing better as of late, but most of these wins are coming against the Philadelphia Flyers, a team that is franchise-long losing streak. The Ottawa Senators, when they were not playing their best hockey, they're doing a little better now. Teams that wouldn't make the playoffs, the Devils, if the season ended today. Here's the LA Kings, a team fighting for a playoff berth. You want to take this comeback to its next level to get back into the playoff hunt. You got to beat playoff contending teams. You take it to the next level by getting it done tonight and continuing this march up the standings and back into the playoff hunt. We will have our key takeaways on tomorrow's show. We'll preview all of this weekend action, and the Islanders will indeed be busy. So make sure you join us for that. Thanks again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now make your next listen Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets is your one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. It's hosted by your boy Q with expert insight analysis by Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And, of course, let's go Islanders.